Hey, it is already hot, but I went on a morning walk to beat the sun. Wanted to share something I shared with my congregation. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you a little story about this little guy here. There you are. Okay, so I can't turn my camera around, but can you see those little yellow flowers? I'm gonna tell you the analogy. Look how frizzy my hair is. The analogy of these, they're little heliotropic flowers. They're probably weeds, but I call them flowers because it makes me feel better that my yard's covered in them. Okay, so a couple weeks ago, I had to give a talk in church, and it was about what aspect of the gospel helps you to relate to Jesus Christ the most. And so as I was preparing for that talk, I noticed these little flowers, and I hadn't noticed them before because I hadn't gotten up early enough to see them. They close up as the day goes on and gets hotter, and in the morning they open up, and they just what I really noticed about them is they're tilted, and so they will turn their little heads towards the sun and get as much of that morning sunlight. And that's a process so that they will, there's my yappy little dog, a process so that they can increase their photosynthesis. And so in the talk I had talked about that, and how when I saw those little flowers, it was the energy that they were giving off. I was like, oh, when I feel close to my Savior, I feel like that little plant. They're just like completely soaking in the sun, the warmth, the light, the love. And that's what am I doing when I feel that way, right? And so the talk was about those things. So anyways, so for the purpose of neurochat though, how does that relate? Hey doggy. We're gonna go sit on my front porch. Okay, come on doggy, I don't want him yapping. So as I was thinking about those little flowers and how there's obviously this biological mechanism to increase their survival. They know their source, they turn to it, and they just soak it up, and they're gonna do everything that they can, and it's in their DNA to do what it takes to survive. Okay, so here's my flowers. I love flowers. Those are actual flowers, not weeds. Okay, so and I was thinking about how, wouldn't it be awesome if we maybe had those same mechanisms, but just kind of they're just programmed to know what their source is and what they're here for and how to survive. And I believe, right, so some of this is my just personal belief, that we do have it in our DNA, in our spiritual makeup. There is a blueprint of what is important to us, what's going to light us up, what's going to help us grow the most here on this earthly existence, right? And the reason why I say that is because I don't have studies to back that up necessarily, right? Like spiritual DNA or anything like that. But what I do have is I've done a lot of research on flow, and flow is really interesting because they've studied it a lot in professional athletes and just professionals that have elite professionals in art and music and those kinds of things. And there's definitely this aspect of flow, which is, it's kind of like this sweet spot of action that they output, and it just it comes. There's certain things that these people are just naturally good at, but it's a point where it's I'm willing to do the hard work to get to the next level, and they just feel time passes them by. It doesn't even necessarily feel like super hard work because they enjoy it so much, and they call that a flow state. And anyone can experience this. Everyone probably has experienced this, but I'm going to bring this all back to the brain. Okay, so, and the reason why I say I do believe in a spiritual DNA, or certain things that we're kind of created to enjoy and excel at in this life, is because when let's say you've never done art, and all of a sudden, and that's kind of the thing for you. You've never done art, and then the first time you do it, there's this feeling of like, I was made for this, like I can do this, and I want to do what it takes to get better at it. Where did that come from if that was the first time that you were ever doing that thing, right? And that's how I feel about going back to school, right? Maybe not necessarily like, I don't remember experiencing it like the first time I went to school, but like I just remember like at some point, actually I remember exactly where it was Niagara Falls. We were traveling in an RV, and I remember being where they talk about Nikola Tesla and Edison and the not the fight, but like they were both trying to get like, you know, electric going or whatever. And I just remember being there and just having this remembrance of like, this is who I am. Like education, learning, this curiosity, discovery, like, and I just like, I remember like tearing up at the thing, right? It's not like I'm an electrician. It wasn't that, but it was like this remembrance of like for whatever reason, I was created to be a seeker and a learner. And like, that is a part of me, right? Now, here's where the brain gets interesting, because I do think like those little flowers, we have things that kind of turn us towards like truth of who we are and who we belong to, and the truth of who we are, all that like authenticity woo-woo stuff that people talk about. I think it's a real thing. And but because we have a brain, so our neuroception, if you guys remember, if you've been here long enough, I've talked about it a few times. Neuroception is just information that's coming in through the nervous system, through your senses. And then but then that information has to be translated by the brain, and the brain is going to make meaning around those experiences. Now there can be good experiences that remind you who you are and like that you have purpose, and there can be some experiences that are not even obviously traumatic experiences. Those have an impact on us about our safety and things like that, right? So if there's a big T trauma, you might go through life thinking like it's not safe to be seen, right? Like if I just hide, then I will be safe. So okay, if that was my trauma, and then I go and feel this, have this experience where there's a remembrance of like who I was and why I'm here, and like I need to do this. Do you think I'm going to take the next steps to like put myself out there and say, I'm going back to school, I'm going to do this thing? No, because the meaning that I have accumulated over years is it's not safe to be seen. So I'm going to stay small. Okay, so that's like a big T safety trauma. There are even things that are not traumatic, but our brains still make meaning around it. You could have been a baby, a small child, a toddler, and you realize that like, wait, I don't know where my mom's at. And you start to look for her and you can't find her. And the meaning that you make around it is, no one's ever here for me. She could be in the bathroom, right? It's not traumatic. But at some point we have these little tiny micro events that occur that create a lot of meaning to us. And so, okay, no big deal. If that happens a lot over time, well, really what happens is we have that initial event, and then your brain will continue to look for that to be true. So every time your mom went to the bathroom, it might solidify that. It'll be like, see, no one's ever here for us. She could have been there all day. But as soon as she's not there, then we'll kind of have that point of reference. Okay, so what happens then if you have this hit of remembrance of like, oh my gosh, like I was made for this, like I didn't even know I loved art, I want to get into this, I want to become an artist, a painter, or I want to go back to school, I want to learn, I want to be in research. Okay, so if I feel like nobody's ever there for me, do you see how that looks like self-sabotage, where it's like I can't move forward, the world is a scary place and I don't have any support and I've got to do it all on my own and I can't do it on my own. Like, it becomes this spiral. Now, these aren't excuses. This is just information so that when you do have those experiences, because I think we all do, where there's like that hit of remembrance of like alignment of who we are and of what we were made for. Hey, do not bite my plants, naughty dog. Come here. When we have those experiences, recognize what voices come up. What are the beliefs that come up, right? And this is why I say, and this is how I coach my clients, it is so good to make to really get clear about your dreams, about the things that you want to shift. And the reason why action is so important is because it will show you what you believe. As soon as you start making a change, your nervous system is more interested in keeping you the same than it is to help you change. And the reason why that is because it is, even if things are painful, if you're poor and you're, you know, physically unwell and you don't have good relationships, your nervous system is actually used to that. And so there's a certainty in what that pain feels like. It is more okay with the pain that it knows versus the uncertainty of change. It feels like uncertainty and change is dangerous, right? And so as soon as it feels danger, it's going to go and find the closest connected belief of why it's dangerous. And so when you're wanting to go to the gym, right, it's gonna like search its database and be like, hey, why shouldn't we go to the gym? Like, this is different. This is like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Oh yeah, actually you're gonna be really selfish if you just leave your family and go to the gym. Like, you don't want to be selfish. It's like those things come up. So that's why when I coach, this is the thing that we're looking for. Like, we want to get clear about those things that light us up, that flow state, right? Or just be open to new experiences, right? To kind of see what lights us up. So first we do that, and then we make an action plan. Because as soon as because we can talk all day long and be like, yeah, like positive affirmations, and those are so good, and I'm gonna make a change. But it's as soon as you try to make the change is where you will see what is still holding you back, what parts are still stuck in their loop. That's when you can see, so that's where we can see what trauma we need to work on. We can see what mindset is keeping us stuck, and we can regulate the nervous system. So it's like, yeah, I tried to make a change and I felt this way and I just breathed through it and I did it anyway, right? Or there's all kinds of tools you can do. But anyways, so there's our little parable from our sweet little weed, our little heliotropic weed. And hopefully that made sense. It made sense to me. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.